Hello, and welcome to another edition of Perspective 254. My name is Agility Ekesa. As usual, couple at once, I would like to implore you to please go down there, click on that subscribe button, and then, ukimaliza, come back and let us do the show. Right, today on the show, we are actually unpacking His Majesty the King Charles's recent visit to Kenya. This was his first visit as the main dude in England, the man with the crown, the king, King Charles in this case. After about a 4-day visit to Kenya, has finally left the country, and is headed back to the UK. I'm not exactly sure whether he's going back to the UK or he's touring other African countries after Kenya. That is not important. I am mostly concerned about his visit to our beloved country of Kenya. Now, even before he got here, when we Kenyans got the news that the king was going to be gracing our country with his presence, some Kenyans were all up in arms with the cries of reparations. Reparations this, reparations that, reparations all over the place. Now, cool it, Wanjala, with the reparations, because most likely, Wanjala, your grandfather was most likely one of those collaborators that worked with the British people back in the day to betray fellow Kenyans during the struggle for independence of Kenya. And he was doing this in exchange for a bicycle, either a bicycle, a gun, or some shiny new toy, or most likely for a position within the British leadership at the time. Does anyone remember one chief, Nabongo Mumia? Yep, that same guy over there. If you're not familiar with Chief Mumia, please, Google and Wikipedia are your friends. Go look him up, and then you can see Waluye Veitulicheza. Even those of us from Mount Kenya region, yes, your grandfathers and his friends and his relatives did suffer at the hands of the British. No doubt about that. However, that does not in any way entitle you to get paid for that. Ukisema reparations because your grandfather suffered for that, that does not make sense. So Kariuki, what do you know about the struggle for independence, Kariuki? You're 19 years old. So you know what? Shut the F up and tafuta kazi. Look for a job, okay? Acha kusumbua watu hapa na stories of reparations. Do you even know what reparations mean to begin with? Anyways, back to my story. King Charles and his wife, Queen Camilla, were in Kenya for 4 days to do what kings and queens do. Whatever that is, I wouldn't know, because I am not from a royal lineage. I don't have royal blood in me. Although I could have. My father was once described by someone as the best member of parliament that Nambale never had. He could have been an MP, but politics in Kenya. Anyways, back to His Majesty the King. This was actually King Charles's first African and Commonwealth pit stop since he became the king sometime last year. It is like being the first pick in a royal draft, and Kenya is actually basking in the glory because we were chosen first by the king. Now, royal visits are usually more about pomp and circumstance than actually getting anything meaningful accomplished. The king is more of a ceremonial figurehead, a royal mascot, if you will. He does not wield any real political power in Britain, and as such, he was not about to start meddling in political affairs that do not concern him. He was here to smile, smile, wave, shake hands, and maybe, if he was lucky enough, pet a baby elephant or two. Part of their extremely busy schedule involved meeting real-life heroes, the Kenyan veterans that fought in the World War II, visiting some cemeteries, and riding a tuk-tuk. The king even cracked a joke while on the tuk-tuk ride, and it was a very, very funny joke too. Do you want to hear it? You ready? Because the king is funny. Ready for the joke? On the tuk-tuk ride, he said, okay, get ready. Okay, get ready. He said, maybe we could even take this tuk-tuk to the airport. Now that's funny, right? So funny, right? That's a funny joke. You gotta agree, that was funny, Okay, sorry, Yako. If you don't get it, it's up to you. Maybe you just don't understand royal humor. Maybe you need to, kaka na wazungu kidogo. Anyways, President Ruto practically rolled out the red carpet for the king and the queen when they visited Kenya. He pulled out all stops to ensure that the royal visit was nothing short of spectacular. However, besides the shaking of hands with the vets and visiting cemeteries, this could have been a chance to shine a light on the long-standing relationship between Kenya and Britain, especially against the backdrop of colonialism. So, What was the point of this visit to begin with? You ask yourself, and I ask myself, what exactly did the king and the queen hope to accomplish during this visit to Kenya? What he did was he talked about wanting to deepen his own understanding of the wrongdoings that the British did to us and build a modern partnership of equals. Modern partnership of equals, which, just to be honest, this really sounds great on paper, but in reality, it is just hogwash. It is BS. Myself, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other Kenyans had different expectations for this visit. Apart from the Kariukis and the Wanjalas, who were all crying out about reparations, one would have hoped that top on his agenda would have been a sincere and heartfelt apology to the people of Kenya for what the British did to our grandfathers during the colonial period between 1901 and 1963, when they gave us independence. That right there was the burning question on everyone's minds. Will Britain finally apologize for the colonial atrocities that were committed in the 1890s as it marched, trampled, and stumbled its way towards Africa? Well, as we all know now, that did not happen. The closest the king came to issuing an apology to us was a tongue-in-cheek statement on how horrible he felt about the atrocities that the British meted out on us during the colonial era. There was no mention of any colonial struggle heroes that died as a result of their brutal rule over us, guys like Dedan Kimathi. There was no mention of doing anything to make things right as a result of that strife. There was no promise to return any Kenyan artifacts and declassify documents related to the colonial atrocities committed against the Africans. None of that happened. What the good King Charles brought with him all the way from England was the wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were unjustifiable acts of violence committed against the Kenyans as they waged a painful struggle for independence. And for that, there can be no excuse. That's it, folks. That's it. A cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. And there can be no excuse. So, for those of us that were waiting very patiently for an apology, for I am sorry, or something along those lines, well, I got some bad news for you. Poleni sana. It's not happening because you know what? The royals never really apologize to their subjects. As much as we'd like to think we are independent, we got our independence in 1963. In the minds of some of these people, we are still subjects, they are still royals, and there is no effing way they can apologize to you for whatever they did. Like it or not. So that's just the reality of the situation. Because you know what? Looking back, the closest his his mother, Queen Elizabeth, ever came to apologize for what they did, for what they did to us was in the year. Oh wait, I am trying to remember. What year was that? When she apologized? Oh wait a minute. Never. I am really hard pressed to find a single instance where the Queen even came close to acknowledging what happened to us, let alone apologize. You would think that with the new generation taking over, and I'm using the term new generation here very loosely because let's face it, this guy right here, the new king, is about 5 years younger than his mother, so not quite new, but if you know what I mean, it's new. You would think by him taking over, he would at least bring in a breath of fresh air to what has been an archaic institution that is the monarchy. Obviously, that does not appear to be the case here. It looks like it's a continuation of the old ways. Out with the old, in with the old. Just a continuation, nothing new. What I hoped was the new generation would be able to accomplish something that the old monarchy and the Queen Elizabeth was never able to pull off over the years. Will be to come out clean and say, we are sorry. Simple. We are sorry, 3 words. We know what we did sucked. And that kind of thing should never, ever be allowed to happen again. And for that, we are sorry. Simple words. A simple 3-word sentence. We are sorry. But as I said, royals never really apologize to their subjects, right? And in this case, this is a clear case of where the royals feel like, they cannot say they are sorry because it's just way beneath them, right? It's not what they do. But I guess, in the royal and political circles, saying I am sorry can be so much more difficult than writing a $20 million check and giving it to the subjects. I guess the king feels that he, and by extension England, are too good to apologize for the atrocities committed against us as a people. Basically, it's like someone is stepping on your new shoes. And instead of saying, I am sorry, he says something like, oh man, your shoes got stepped on. There's really no excuse for that happening. that is not an apology. You know, it almost feels like we are too far beneath the UK or Britain for a formal apology. So much for creating that relationship of equals that the king was talking about. You know, if he could not bring himself to apologize to us over those atrocities, then the whole relationship of equals thing that he was talking about is nothing but BS. He feels the deepest regret, but he is actually not sorry. You know, sometimes in life, it is not so much what you say as much as what you don't say that really sticks out the loudest. And in King Charles did not really say he was sorry. And that is what we all heard loud and clear. He is not sorry. So, his acknowledgement of the painful history and the call for honesty and openness was a step in the right direction, yet the absence of a full apology or reparations left a lot to be desired. The king's speech had been eloquent, and yet it left many questions about the depth and sincerity of the royal family's reflection and their historical actions towards Africa, or towards Kenya specifically. And to play along with this I am better than thou attitude that the king displayed during his visit to Kenya was our very own President Dr. William Ruto, praising the king for almost apologizing to the Kenyans. We welcome the courage and readiness to shed light on the uncomfortable truths that reside in the darker regions of our shared experience. Much remains to be done in order to achieve full reparations. By contrast, right next door, not too far away, just right next door in Tanzania, we have the president of Frank Walter, whatever his last name is, of Germany, another ceremonial figurehead, just like the king, apologizing to the people of Tanzania for what the Germans did to them during the same colonial period. I did not even know the German had a president. That's news to me. I'm sure none of you guys knew that, right? Anyways, the President Frank issued a fully fledged apology to the Tanzanian people for what the Germans did to them during that same period. What he said was, as the German president, I would like to ask for forgiveness for what the Germans did to your ancestors here. Plain, simple, and clear. Apology. We are sorry. I would like to offer an apology for what our people did to your people here back in the day. This pattern of expressing sorrow and regret without further action has actually been a long-standing tradition of the British, and by extension the royal family. It is exactly for this reason that the king, on his inaugural African tour as a monarch, is under extreme scrutiny. In the grand tapestry of history, the threads of the past are inseparably woven into the fabric of the present. They cannot just bury their heads in the sand and act like whatever happened in the past did not happen, because it did happen. As the dust settles on this royal visit, the echoes of what was said, and significantly what was left unsaid, resonate through the hearts and the minds of Kenyans. The absence of a full-fledged apology from the British monarchy, a gesture that would cost nothing, yet mean everything, remains a glaring omission in the narrative of closure and amends. This is a situation that deserves to be met with more than just deep regrets. It demands a recognition that is clear, unequivocal, and just. In the end, the true measure of this visit will not be found in the speeches made or the medals awarded, but in the actions that follow afterwards. Only then can the healing truly begin. And this has been Perspective 254. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and don't forget to apologize next time you step on somebody's shoes. Cheers.